Okay, we are. Yeah, we're we're live. Um, Hopefully everybody's doing well. Hold on, I'll give it a second here. I'll set it up. We are live actually here. Hope I don't know why, but StreamYard is acting funny and making it sound like there's nobody there. Although I can see a whole bunch of people in the chat. But I'm not sure if it's actually pulling from the right source. But either way, Sabaho everybody, Sabaho and welcome back. This is episode 100, and it is actually a transition point of the episode of the podcast. Up to this point, we've called it the Saturday Morning with Tech, namely, rightfully named after the fact that it is usually streamed in the morning, my local time here in Southern California, in the morning on Saturday. So it's the Saturday morning of with Tech. But at episode 100, we are transitioning a couple of things. We're actually rebranding the channel, rebranding the podcast to the Android Bay based on your recommendations, the viewers, the followers, everybody that was basically pitching in the new name and the new convention, the naming structure that we're going to be going with. One of the other things that we're also is shifting the episode or the podcast to have its own channel. So if you are new to the channel, new to the show, I would love it if you're able to basically follow. Make sure to check it out. It's the Android Bay on YouTube. Of course, you'll be able to like and subscribe and support the channel. It'll always be appreciated. I am your host, TK Bay, and I'm going through all of this introduction primarily for anybody new to finding out our show, and of course for everybody that's hanging out with us. Of course, thank you very much for hanging out with us for another episode. This episode is special because of the fact that it is a 100th episode. This is a major milestone for me, hitting a show for that many episodes. Luckily, we were able to do it right about a couple of weeks before Christmas, which kind of also coincides with a nice little celebration giveaway that we're going to be doing on the show. So with that being said, I do want to say good morning to Matt Tyler, our man, the myth, Purposely Gaming, actually showcasing under Purposely Gaming in here with us. This is Matt Tyler. He's also one of the mods on the channel. If you guys are not familiar with him, make sure to check out his new gaming channel, Purposely Gaming, which is in association or collaboration with Purposely Pixel. And of course, Zen, thank you very much. Jimmy Fire Dragon, thank you for joining us. Chimi is in there as well. ER1980, Ibrahim, good morning. Sabaho. And of course, everybody hanging out with us here, just kind of kicking it on Saturday morning. Let's talk what's going on. One of the other things I also loved about the fact that this is episode 100 with the new transition is we're also going to have a little bit more structured type of, I would say, a guideline of what we can basically go through in the show. This is a little bit borrowing from Juan Carlos' podcast where he has basically housekeeping, tech talk, and a whole bunch of different things. And I like to kind of follow the same structure so that we can actually kind of have a little bit more organized, maybe a bit easier to actually navigate as well. But it also, again, focusing mostly on Android and talking about what's going on. Zen Photography is in there as well. And of course, yeah, ER in there. And hopefully we'll see some more people joining us. I'll start off, obviously, we're going to break it up with tech news, what's going on this week, what are some of the major news kind of conversations going on, at least as it relates to Android for us. A couple of major updates, a couple of major announcements that were done for devices, specifically the Z Flip 3, the Z Fold 3, and of course OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro devices received Android 12 officially as a full build, and that was pushed out to devices. But the biggest news that was going on this week was the fact that it actually got pulled not so long after it was actually pushed due to some issues and some concerns from users that were having it. So what I was talking basically about is Android 12 with One UI 4.0, not the beta, the full version of One UI 4.0 for the Z Fold 3 and the Z Flip 3 was pushed out earlier this week. If you download it and you install it, you probably started noticing some hiccups in the UI elements, some things shifting, some things crashing in there. And Samsung has actually acknowledged the fact that this is an issue, and they went ahead and pulled the update until they're able to basically fix it and push a correct version of it. Now, I don't know how that's going to basically affect people that are already on the update, since I was able to download it and install it on my Z Fold 3. So I'm hoping it'll be a new build number that is further down the line. It's not a re-release of it. So therefore, it fixes any problems with anybody that already has it. So that's one of my concerns, and we'll have to see how that kind of goes. The other thing that also kind of went on, which seems to be a lot of controversy going on, which I do not understand why there seems to be such a divide between the two. It seems like ColorOS 12, or at least, the OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro received their updates. So the brand new devices, I mean, they're not brand new, they're relatively about almost a year, but essentially is their 2021 flagship from OnePlus. The 9 and 9 Pro received Android 12 in the form of and I'm not trying to make light of it, but it was Android 12 with basically OxygenOS 12 based on Android 12, the way it was represented in ColorOS 12, which is ultimately based on Android 12 from Google. So if you really look at it, essentially it's a modded or a skinned version of ColorOS 12 with customizations made for OnePlus devices. And for that reason, we seem to be somewhat split. And we're seeing a lot of people being on one side saying, OnePlus is not there anymore. The, Oxygen OS is dead. At the end of the day, for the most part, if we really look at it, OnePlus is trying to do what it feels is the best for its future as well as for its users. They're not trying to hodgepodge and put together things that don't make sense. Although I understand and I definitely empathize with anybody that feels that the concern of basically they're leaving their core message, they're departing, they're no longer essentially in their own brand. They're now kind of like a sub brand of Oppo, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that one as well. So Brahim ER 1980 says, for all of those OnePlus fans who are upset about the change of the software experience with the Android 12 update, apart from Google Pixel experience, don't forget that there's also Sony's stock experience. No, absolutely. We still haven't seen how Sony's approach is going to be as to Android 12, right? We now, as far as we know right now, the Xperia 1 Mark III, which by the way, if you guys haven't had a chance to check out. So I posted this picture earlier today on my Instagram. I got my Extreme Skins, which, by the way, thank you very much to Extreme Skins for sending me these skins, as well as providing us with a code. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to save 10% on your order. Use TKBay at Extreme Skins. You can get customized skins done for your devices. So they sent me some for the Xperia 1 Mark III, and of course, they sent me one for the Pixel 6 Pro. So we'll install the 6 Pro together, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But that's true. I mean, the reality is Android 12, okay, we're at the end of 2021, and it seems to be that there's a number of companies that are racing to try to release Android 12 as fast as they can. So Google released their version with Material U. We all saw that on Pixel devices. The Pixel 6 Pro launched with it, and the 6 as well. And then, of course, what we saw after that is we saw ColorOS announcement, OnePlus announcement, and of course we have One UI announcement. They had their betas. It's been a couple of months now, and of course now we're seeing them being released. So Samsung's having some issues. I can also attest to the fact that even on my S21 Ultra, the One UI 4.0 has some janky UI element issues. It's not a software thing; it's a UI element, and it may require a reset. So something to keep in mind there when we start looking at, is OnePlus dead or whatever? Look at it from the sense of where we are. The brand that we fell in love with back in the day when OnePlus was the flagship killer, that's when they were such a small company and they were trying to build up hype around their brand, providing us a great bang for the buck experience, the OnePlus 1, the OnePlus 2, and then start going on from there. Everything has been going on a consistent path. Minor, small updates year over year with a minor price bump. So we saw that and we saw that path, and we knew at some point or another that there is going to be a situation where they're going to change. Now, I pushed out a video earlier this week, or actually, sorry, not earlier, yesterday, where we talked about the fact about, Oxygen OS 12 based on ColorOS 12. Let's talk why. And the reality behind that is OnePlus, this is not OnePlus's first UI element change. You have to remember last year and what they did from Android 10 to 11. That was also a big change. A lot of people weren't happy about it. It wasn't based on ColorOS, and this was before they started to synergize their development side on the software side for OnePlus and Oppo. This was basically OnePlus just evolutionary upgrading their UI element. They're going away from their stock look experience. And this is technically iteration 2, which is why I don't understand people are so upset about that. I think the biggest thing on this, obviously, is it's that loyalty. It's that feeling that your best friend, your brand that you really trusted and loved is basically changing. And the reality is they're not necessarily changing, but more so evolving. And that's where we need to kind of focus the experience on and just look at what they're offering us with the new ColorOS option in the background. ColorOS as a brand or as a software is no longer what we mostly know them to be. If you haven't upgraded or if you haven't purchased a ColorOS or an Oppo device within the last year or so, you're probably still using earlier generations of ColorOS, like 7, 6, or anything before then. And those were definitely a very different experience than what we have right now with ColorOS 11 or ColorOS 12. I'm not trying to say that this is something that should happen. I'm just explaining that at least as a base to go from ColorOS 12, it's actually not a bad place to start, and understand that some of the changes that we're getting there are minor in the UI, or at least the UI UX experience. They're keeping a lot of their core experiences the same. So for sure, let me just go ahead and kind of relook. Yeah. So again, the regular Google Pixel 6 is 599. Still, it basically stole the moniker. Just saying, Ibrahim. It is a very interesting experience if you look at it, right? The approach that Google did in 2021 was a very OnePlus approach, which is really like the moment I saw that, I'm like they pulled a page from OnePlus's book. They went and released their best tiered devices using their Tensor processor, and they released them with both being undersold or underpriced from everything else on the market. So 599 for the entry Pixel 6. It's actually ridiculous for the fact that it actually runs 95% of the experience that you get with the 6 Pro, minus obviously the higher refresh rate, the bigger battery, as well as the fact that we have a well, the primary telephoto lens that's actually present there, as opposed to a digital crop, which is what we get on the Pixel 6. And I think it's still a great start. It's a great experience for anybody looking to get into Google services, into the Google ecosystem, using some of the best benefits that Tensor has to offer. And again, starts at 599. It's crazy because it's closer to what they were releasing last year's processor, which was running a Snapdragon processor. So things to keep in mind. But yeah, it is one of those things I always feel like, how is it that we don't have all of the, people like understanding and looking at it from a different point of view? So those are big things. But the reason why they're in the news, obviously from a long story long here conversation, since we're still in the tech block, is the fact that actually OnePlus did end up pulling the update for OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro, because they did hear of the issues or some of the concerns of some commenters and some reviewers were putting out. So OnePlus is holding back now. I was able to get it installed on mine before they pulled it, so I'm running the actual version fully on mine. But some of the hiccups, if you watched the video from yesterday, you'll notice is I don't have the Snapdragon 888 anymore on my phone. It's been swapped in this update to feature the Snapdragon 855, a great chipset, mind you, with 5G support, which wasn't available at the time on most OnePlus devices in the 855, other than the McLaren edition. But that was partially one of the things. Obviously, there seemed to be an unfinished, maybe the update wasn't fully vetted out, and some people got this and some people didn't. Juan Carlos over on the channel, I think on Thursday when we talked about the best of our week during that podcast, he shared that his device says the Snapdragon 888, which is what's inside of my phone as well. And then of course we have some new optimization. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, check out the video. It's on the TK Bay channel, not on the Android Bay. Android Bay is going to be primarily podcasts and maybe shorts here or there, depending on how things are going. But for the most part, this is the home of the podcast on YouTube, at least. So let's jump in real quick. I think I saw a couple of comments. Dominic One is in there. Hey man, hope you're doing well. I see Jimmy Fire Dragon. Hey man. I think, you guys were talking back. And then, so here we have Sarvan jumping back. Sabaho TK, Sabaho, hope you're doing well. All the people in India are very frustrated with OnePlus. Many people bought only the Oxygen OS version. Oxygen OS 12, mediocre update. At least they keep the promise on bootloader on clock, unlocking options. So that's the part that I want to make sure that we still haven't lost that part. Although it seems like the bootloader, if you actually get a chance to jump into the bootloader on your OnePlus 9 or 9 Pro, you seem to be noticing that I think it was a clear cache is no longer available in there. And I'm hoping that that's going to come back as part of the fix that they're going to push. So OnePlus pulled the update, they're fixing it, and they're going to be pushing it up again. And I hope that they do the exact same thing that I'm hoping for Samsung devices. And that's releasing it with a newer build number so that it actually pushes the update even to people that receive the update. Because I'd like to be able to at least have my phone say that it runs the 888. The camera application definitely looks like it's been copied over and modded over from ColorOS. The three-finger gesture, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. This is something that came straight from ColorOS, and that's the ability of taking a screenshot by holding 3 fingers on the screen and then swiping it down. I think it's more so about the fact that the transition wasn't as smooth as it should have been. We saw Nord 2. If you have a Nord 2 device, if you picked up a Nord 2, you know that Nord 2 launched with a custom version of Android 12 or Android 11 that was running based on ColorOS 11 for OnePlus devices. If you're in China or in markets where Hydrogen OS used to be a thing, you know that ColorOS took over those devices and they've been updated to run ColorOS fully, not even a Oxygen OS version. It just now runs ColorOS in that market. So we knew things were coming. I understand and I definitely empathize with the frustration. Don't get me wrong. for the most part, most people that use OnePlus devices are very much true hardcore fans, and they know and they live with this device or this ecosystem for some time. And this is yet another transition that I think we just need to hold with it a little bit. And I my thing is about it is it's going off of a great start. ColorOS is actually not a bad OS to start from, but we need to actually wait for them a little bit to fix things. This is typical to OnePlus. Buggy updates are things that they do, and we just need to give them a little bit of time to fix it. But I wish they would have had all of these bugs figured out in their beta, since they did have a public beta and people could download and install their oxygenos 12 in its beta form. It's just little things like this is what I feel like it's causing people to feel a little bit step back a little bit and kind of measure the performance that we're getting there. But I'm with you, Sarvan. It is definitely a very big thing. We fell in love with the UI element, the experience that OnePlus device gave us. Smooth, fast, reliable, great memory management, and notification systems that don't necessarily work all the time because of their memory management, their battery life extension. But I also like the fact that, and Juan and I talked about this on Thursday, we now actually have a performance mode built into OnePlus devices so that you're able to actually make kind of like a gear configuration where you can turn on the full power of the OnePlus 9 Pro and, of course, get the full power of the 888 and then do everything you want. And, of course, that comes at the cost of battery. Although, keep in mind, you can still charge that device in about 36 minutes. It has one of the fastest charging tech on the market when it comes to wire charging with the Warp 65 watts. So, again, it is something I think right now is hitting us pretty big. But if you live with a OnePlus, I feel like some of these things are not going to be as bad. We just need to understand some of the new changes. And I wish there was an easier way for most OnePlus users to understand the new benefits that they're getting with the ColorOS update. Let's go ahead and double check here. Steve DeRoche, hey man, good morning. I've yet to play around with a OnePlus device, but I'd be happy. I'd be unhappy if I'd purchased it for the AOSP style UI and the new Android 12 update ends up basically with MIUI style. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. It's like buying a car and suddenly you bought a Toyota and then 2 days later you have another company's UI element. The update that we have here is visually changed. But if you use a custom launcher, none of that affects. For me, on my OnePlus 9 Pro, I use Nova Prime. So the update, for the most part, didn't really change my home screen. The only big difference that I noticed is that the shelf is no longer on the left, and it's actually now as a drop-down swipe from the top right edge of the screen. And if I don't go there, if I just swipe in the middle, which is what I typically do, I don't even get access to the shelf because it doesn't show up there. That's the biggest thing that you have to kind of like adjust to. I'm with everybody on this, and again, I do understand, and I realize the fact that a lot of us are saying things and a lot of us are talking about it, but at the end of the day, it's going to end up becoming what is the best for OnePlus to survive and to thrive. And right now, a better relationship with Oppo is the best way for them. And honestly, to a certain extent, I think that this is something that they've been doing for some time. One thing you probably have not noticed, so here this is the Find X3 Pro, the OnePlus 9 Pro. Both of these devices, with the exception of the fact that obviously the camera stack on the back is very different, are running, for the most part, the exact same panel. We're talking about the same QHD, 120 hertz refresh rate, same color science, and of course, same punch hole camera presence in the same spot. I'm using the same glass protector that I bought for the OnePlus 9 Pro to the Find X3 Pro. This is something that we noticed last year as well with the Find X2 Pro and the OnePlus 8 Pro. It's not new. So we are going to get through this. Let's just say that. And we are going to be able to enjoy our devices again. I think this is just a blip in time. And I think at this point, we just need to understand that the benefits will outweigh the change. And it is a new version of a ColorOS as well as a new version of oxygenos. And we'll have to move with that one as well. Let me just jump in real quick here. I'm loving my Pixel 6 Pro. Okay, so here, Matt's jumping in with, I'm loving my Pixel 6 Pro and my Xperia 1 Mark II. Both perform really, really well and with great battery life. So absolutely, the 6 Pro is, at least in my experience, still very much a champ when it comes down to performance and everything we need on a daily basis. And performance overall in cameras and video and so on. I will say, though, with the Xperia 1 Mark III, since mine is a little bit more, I think it's next generation from there, it's definitely very nice to see that we're getting a lot of functional options. I did get a chance to, while I was at the Tech Summit last week, to play around with the Xperia the Xperia Pro I. But the full kit with Mr. Fisher, and which, by the way, I think he dropped his video not that long ago, and you can see me take a picture of the thing like as if I just found a unicorn. But you could definitely see the excitement on my face of seeing the Xperia Pro I and how much I really like that device. I did try the display on my Xperia 1 Mark III, but unfortunately it doesn't work. And it actually doesn't recognize it, even though I have Video Pro, which is the app that uses it. And by the way, Camera Pro also uses the display in the back. And I wasn't able to actually get the camera display to run with the rear display. So I'm hoping Android 12 fixes that and it makes that display compatible with more devices. But I believe it or not, I'm still actually kind of curious. The Xperia 5 Mark III, I think if I'm not mistaken, C4E Tech put out a video about it, and I think they bought it from another site. But the long story short is still don't have any reference to this. The end of 2021 is here. It was announced earlier. It was supposed to come out in the summer. I'm hoping we still get access to the Xperia 5 Mark III here in the US. I know in some areas in the world they already have it. So I'm waiting, and I've reached out and I've tried sending messages. No news yet, no update. But again, I'm hoping last minute surprise kind of thing. Sony kind of puts out a news saying, "Hey, it's available on the site. You can go pick it up there," kind of a thing. But yeah, let's double check here and see. Keep going here. Oh, by the way, I do want to say this. Happy birthday to, Matt's daughter. It's her birthday today. I know it's a little bit late. Hopefully she's having a great night. But definitely thank you very much for Matt and for Aditya, and just Johiki as well for helping with the mod support here on the channel. Both phones have their own camera perks. Always. Jimmy Fine. So hey, Jay Williams, I think Jimmy Fire, I think the OnePlus, the 9 Pro said that it had the 855 instead of the 888. So yes, I don't know if I can show this on camera. I'm hoping my Sony camera will focus. That's my biggest thing. It's not about the effect here. So actually, you know what? We can do this. We'll do it this way. Let's do this here and switch over. So what we're talking about is right there. You notice right there when it says processor, the Snapdragon 855 octa-core. This is the OnePlus 9 Pro. And again, that's the bug. It's not changed. It still works. It is something that you just need to be aware of where it is. So yeah, for sure, this definitely can be fixed. It's a software thing. I don't want to actually go in there and edit the build prop just to kind of get it to say the Snapdragon 888, which by the way is where the problem is going in. But I'll go ahead and make sure to, it'll be part of the update in there. Sarvan jumping back in, Sabah Tige. I'd say the India story, in fact, majority of people are frustrated with OnePlus regarding the Oxygen OS. Many people in India bought only for Oxygen OS. They can't digest Oppo, or basically the Oppo from enthusiast to Conjure. I'm okay. So maybe I'm missing something because I don't really understand. I'll say this. Maybe I'll take one step back. I've used OnePlus devices since the beginning, since the original OnePlus, and every single generation of OnePlus devices I've purchased and I've used. I've had a few, obviously, within the last few years being sent to me from OnePlus for review. So I've had enough experience with OnePlus devices to actually say that I've been there since the beginning. I actually have a OnePlus 2 sitting on the wall right there as one of my wall memorabilia in there. The Oxygen OS experience for me is the Find X. I think it was the Find 7. And I don't want to be, it's not the Find X, but it was a Find 7. It was an earlier generation of Oxygen OS. And I also used it on the 10X Zoom, the Reno 10X Zoom. And I also used many Oppo devices over the last few years. The experience for both of them are definitely very different. OnePlus is very much stock experience, very minimalistic in design aesthetics, and they try not to be too flashy. And you're getting a very fast EUI experience overall. Like the device ran faster than any other device, even though it ran similar hardware as some of the other flagships on the market. ColorOS from Android 11 on has shifted their approach to mirror the speed that OnePlus has been doing, and this is where I look at them as far as why I'm not necessarily very. I'll take that back. I'm not surprised that this happened. I'm more concerned, or I'm more looking forward and curious to see what they are going to do going forward. This is the initial build. This is the initial transition of Oxygen OS and OnePlus. Is it ever going to be where ColorOS takes over Oxygen OS and we no longer have Oxygen OS? I don't think so. I think OnePlus, for the most part, has a very strong presence across the globe, in the Asian market, in the US market, as well as in the European market. It behooves Oppo to support that brand and make sure that it thrives and it grows. There's no reason for them to rebrand OnePlus into Oppo devices and just suddenly kind of basically absorb the company. The company is so big that they actually kind of compete with each other in certain markets. So I'm totally with you. The Oxygen OS change is a difference, but I really always love to explain is remember, They did the same thing to us last year with Android 10 to Android 11. We had the same change and we were all on the same thing. We were not very happy with the way they went. They started to leave the stock Android experience. Every OEM now has their own version of a skin on top of Android. Even Google has it with Material U. That's pretty much one of the biggest thing they did with the Pixel 6 Pro and the Pixel 6, as well as any other Pixel that picked it up. They now have Material U as part of their ecosystem. So I really think we need to give them a little bit of time to figure out what they need to do and how they're going to move forward. But the unique characteristics that we had in oxygenos are still here. We're just getting some new updates from there. But I understand. It's a relationship that we've had with this brand for many, many years. This is not something that you just started. You bought into OnePlus because of this experience. Again, I do hope that the bootloader experience does stay the same. We do not have any change of heart there. In the US, though, just for reference for everybody else, we have two flavors of OnePlus. There is the unlocked model of OnePlus, which is typically what I am referencing and whenever I'm using with a OnePlus device. And that's usually the dual SIM unlocked model that is available for purchase directly through OnePlus's site or even through Amazon. So just for the US market. But there is a second version of OnePlus, which is the branded OnePlus relationship with carriers, like OnePlus with T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, those devices that work on those carriers' devices. Those are typically a single SIM device that is slightly modified with a locked bootloader, which is different than what we have on unlocked models. So we still have to kind of see how those experiences go. I don't think those are going to be receiving the update as fast as some of us, because again, this has to go through the carriers. And less, in my experience, I would say T-Mobile has to approve this version of it for it to run. So again, I don't want to sound like I'm defending one side or the other. I'm more so trying to approach or at least focus on, I think it's a transition point. I really don't think this is the end of one thing and start of something else. It's a transition point where they're both starting to work together, and we need to see how they're going to focus. This is how you judge the performance of a company. It's by how they perform and how do they go forward. Their update cycle, the process of updates, how fast are they able to not only identify but also eliminate bugs. Those are the things we need to worry about. And how fast are we going to start getting updates? In 2021, we did not receive a 9T series of OnePlus devices. We only have the 9 and the 9 Pro. So what was released earlier in the year, and now I have to kind of find it, the 9 Pro is still their flagship, and this should have been much better. That part, I'm definitely with you. I think the experience should be much smoother, and we shouldn't be having these little hiccups here and there. Sorry, I think I'm a little bit behind on the comments again. My question, type 2 times. Sorry, yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, Sarvan. Okay, 1980, ER Ibrahim saying is, I have to say, after using my Pixel 6 Pro for 10 days, my battery life is definitely way better than the Pixel 4 XL. Also, the Pixel drop for Android 6 series phones is coming Monday as well. So that's going to be coming on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Today is what, the 11th, 12th, 13th? Yeah. So they're going to be dropping. We saw some new updates and there's some new fixes. I'm actually looking forward to seeing some of the new modes that they added in there. But at the end of the day, what we're looking at essentially is what Google's really focused on and built on. It's a series of devices that not only work great, but they get better over time with new feature drops. And of course, every Monday or every first Tuesday of the month, everybody knows they get an update and the security patch update is up to date to the existing month, which is crazy, but it is something you appreciate when you go over to Pixel. And I think that's starting to build up the value of why you'd go and pick up a smartphone made by Google over other brands in the market. You know exactly what you're getting. The computational photography, the great camera stack on the back, minus the camera bump on the back, which I think I need to install one of the ones. So they included 3 skins for me. This is the extreme skin one that they sent. There's 3 skins. One of them is wood, and I think the other one is more of a matte finish. Let me show you guys what it looks like. This was actually very happy because I've been waiting for the package to show up for some time. So we could see it right there. So here, there's the 1, 2, and 3. You can see here they have the camera cover for every single one of them. I like this one actually. It's a nice little wood finish and it looks really nice. So we'll install this one on the phone today. But let's real quick kind of get back on the track. Hey, Greg is in the chat. Good morning, Greg. Hope you're doing well. Oops, let me see here. Let me see. Working. ColorOS is working okay, but not 5G. Okay. So I'm wondering which version, because for me, I was able to pick up 5G on mine, and I think you're probably talking about. Well, actually, Greg, let me know which version of the phone, or which phone are you referring to when you're getting that one. Hamad is in there. OnePlus has lost its identity, so that's actually maybe not a bad comment to say. it has lost the original flagship killer identity. Now they're pretty much going into the flagship experience. OnePlus, at least in the US, when you go into a store to see them, most people don't know the history of how they got to the store and how they became the brand that, different carriers are working with, and how different, Best Buy stores or, T-Mobile and so on stores carry them in there. So the relationship is different. There's two different users. There's us, the people that have lived with OnePlus for so long. And it is a little bit different. You're right. The flagship killer is no longer something that they're using. They're not trying to shoot for that. They're trying to go for more great features, not so expensive, but also still focused on a core experience. And they keep doing as much as they can to improve it. That hasn't changed. That's something that's still there. Year over year, they give us a slightly better improvement experience on the smartphone, and they're trying to do that as much as possible. The 9 and the 9 Pro in the US are literally regardless of the fact that they're the latest versions of OnePlus devices, they're literally the best versions of these devices that they ever released. The 9 in the US has wireless charging, which is something that doesn't exist in the international market. That was also something unique. But you're also looking there that they kept the same processor. They also have the same camera setup for the most part. You got the wireless charging. You have the flat display, which is, I think, a lot of people appreciate. But I really want to emphasize on this. They are focusing to move forward and improve and get better and become a bigger company. We knew this was all ultimately going to be coming. We can't really ignore the fact that when we look at them every year, slightly edging pricing goes up a little bit, up a little bit, up a little bit. Every year we get new features, new features, new features. We had to have known that this was going to be the ultimate goal of where they want to go. So let's approach it with that approach. And I think, like I said, we just need to kind of work with it and see how it improves and how it goes on as time goes on. But I'm with you, Mohammed. Like I said, when I got the first update, I won't deny that I was surprised as to the level of ColorOS presence that was there. But once I got over that part, I started to see like, oh, okay, I like this. This is this cool feature that was on OnePlus, on oxygenos, on ColorOS, sorry, did come over to oxygenos. That performance mode that we have in there, where last year OnePlus, which is another thing, I mean, OnePlus is always in the news. But OnePlus last year had a lot of coverage, a lot of talk around the fact that they were throttling certain experiences on their phones to be able to better improve the battery, but also basically to improve the thermal throttling of, not improve it, but thermal throttling to improve the experience on their devices to allow things to run on maybe the performance course or the battery saving course on the 888. That was a big news in there. And then at the end of the day, I think Juan Carlos and myself kind of talked about it many times. But, we always wanted control over that. Give us a toggle to be able to say, look, I want to run my device at about basically 80 to 90% experience, while the 888 is way overpowered. Just be honest with each other. This is a Lamborghini inside of a phone. It could do so much more than what we need from it. Even at a throttle point, even with one hand tied behind its back, it still performs better than some of the other devices on the market. But they didn't give us control. One feature that does actually come from ColorOS, which I think we're going to appreciate a lot, is performance mode. The ability of full on turning on basically every single feature you want, basically run the system at its fullest potential by turning on performance mode. That's something that I think most OnePlus devices or more OnePlus users are going to appreciate much more than what we have had in the past. So we have to understand it's not all ColorOS kind of things, but keep in mind they do have some benefits. They have some tricks up their sleeve that OnePlus hasn't been implementing, hasn't even tried copying in the past. So I want to see better color science, better image performance on OnePlus devices, because Oppo's actually been performing much better in that market for years now. And I've been wondering why is it not something that has been transitioned over? And we're starting to see that now. So again, we need to kind of understand that there's that initial shock, but we also need to kind of see what do we do after that. Because I don't think anybody's going to be throwing their phone out just because it got the new update. We need to figure out what to do and how is this going to be something that we can work with, or is it a deal breaker, right? Let me see here. And I want to say I may have missed a couple of questions. Yeah, very nice. Dominic. Okay, so I think there was Dominic and ER talking to each other. Vasicos is in there. Hey man, hope you're doing well. In my opinion, apart from the bugs and the software, it's not as big of a deal. It's just something to get used to. So Vasicos, I'm with you on that one. It really is something that we need to kind of. Again, I'm not trying to say let's ignore it. I'm not saying let's just act like it never happened. But it's something that I think we really need to kind of like, okay, it's here. We understand, and let's just see what comes up after that. And I don't think it's as bad as most of us are concerned, because it's not literally the end of an era. It's a slow transition that OnePlus has been taking us on since the beginning. But we've always hoped that there is kind of at one point that they would probably stop. And the reality is no. OnePlus is going to try to do the best that they can to evolve and expand the company and, of course, do better as any company wants to do. As the team grew from originally from Carl Pei and Pete Lau as basically the small company that it used to be, that was the goal. That was their future. That was the thing that they wanted to do. And, Carl Pei moved on and now he's obviously with nothing. And then we have Pete Lau that moved back to Oppo. So those are things that you have to kind of keep in mind. Like this is the relationships that you're looking into. This is something that we've seen in the making. And I honestly, I think it's going to benefit us in many, many ways, at least in the market that where you're looking to pick up a phone that is either a OnePlus or an Oppo. Most people won't buy both, right? Most people either buy an Oppo or they buy a OnePlus. On the flagship side, they're also very different. Oppo has this massive, sorry, let's just do this correctly. I take this case because their carbon fiber case is kind of like very, very nicely connected there. Let's see here, and let's try. Okay, so we have this nice, oh man, fingerprints. Okay, let's do this again. Very mirror finish. Camera stack on the back, very nice experimental experience here. Very different than what we saw with the Find X2 Pro last year, and again, very different than what we saw with the Find X Pro earlier before then. Oppo does a lot of experimentation, and that's the beauty of it. OnePlus is very consistent. This is the biggest thing that we loved about them. It's the fact that we knew roughly every year how the new generation of OnePlus devices will feature. We know at the beginning of the year, we got the flagships. We got the base benefit of everything that we've seen years before, included in the 9 and the 9 Pro. The T series always included something new, either a new charging technology, a new camera system, a new display technology, and that ended up becoming the new benefit into the next series of OnePlus devices. It was an equation that we could depend on. This is exactly what we wanted from OnePlus. And they haven't really strayed off from that. This is exactly what they've been doing, and they've done this before. Again, 10 to 11 on Android, the exact same experience we saw last year. They shifted away from the experience, and a lot of people were concerned. But we lived with it. We still liked it. I think the fact that we're seeing the name coloros has given us that little bit of a shift. But at the end of the day, I think OnePlus is not losing its identity. It's evolving to become a better product for us in the future. And they're still going to focus on features. I'm hoping that they're still going to give us new features, and they're not just going to copy ColorOS, which I know a lot of us are concerned. Aditya, man, our Mr. Cumberbatch of the channel. Hope you're doing well. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Sabaho, and hope you're doing well, my friend. Aditya is also one of the other mods on the channel for comments. If you guys are not familiar, he's been one of the mods on my channel as well, on the TK Bay channel. And him and Matt kind of were gracious enough to help out with the new channel, which I really appreciated. And I think we're in good company. We're in good company. Sarvan coming back with many people are saying that ColorOS is great, but they will rather buy Oppo, which has better camera, or cheaper Realme instead of OnePlus devices. So there's that little bit of okay. So there's a little bit of overlapping between the two. You have a very good point. If you like Oppo devices, you're probably going to be sticking with Oppo. OnePlus right now has Nord, and Nord doesn't really compete well with the way Realme is. Like, Realme is actually a very good, very solid performer, and within the last few months or so, I've had access when I've had my hands on. I love how Sarvan kind of threw that in there. Okay, so the box, obviously, just to kind of reference for you guys, this is the box that, and hey, Sony likes to work. So the phone that I showed in the thumbnail, which I purposely obviously blurred out, is the Realme Neo GT. And now it doesn't work. Okay, so here's the Realme Neo 2, the GT Neo 2. Okay, that very long name kind of going in and giving us a whole bunch of stuff. So this is obviously, that's going to be the phone that we're going to talk about for the giveaway. It's a brand new phone. Realme was gracious enough to send me separately a separate phone. They sent me one, which is the one I'm using, and I did use that one for the thumbnail. And then there was another not exact, but there's basically another Realme GT running the Snapdragon 870 5G, 120 hertz, 6.67 inch display, 65 watt dark charging, obviously very fast, stainless steel vapor cooling system as well, and of course 5G. So depending on the area that you're in, Europe, I think in Asia, more than likely will have that support in there. But I'm with you on the experience. I think this is why I was concerned where you're looking at it. If you are a OnePlus fan, you're probably going to go for a OnePlus. That's the message that I feel like they're going with. And it's different than what Oppo's been putting out before. Oppo has a lot of mid-range devices and has a lot of flagship devices. So we have the experimental flagship experiences, but for the most part, Oppo focuses on the A series devices, things that are a little bit more budget friendly, which I feel like, which personally, if I have to kind of put them head to head, are still better than the Nord experience that we get in the US, like the N10 and the N200. But I don't think is at the same level as what we got with let's say the Nord 2, which was running the MediaTek 1200, and that's more like a Reno on the OnePlus on the Oppo side. So there are some overlaps. I'm with you. But at the end of the day, there is still a slight difference in approach to camera mechanics. I'm just hoping Oppo's approach to camera processing comes over. OnePlus devices, which I still see here, which is this was a new feature. Well, sorry, this was a feature that surprised me a little bit. OnePlus devices can shoot 4K and 8K video at 8K at 30 frames per second and 4K at 120 frames per second. The same comparable device on Oppo's side, the Oppo Find X3 Pro, 4K 60 frames per second is the best. It doesn't do 120 and it doesn't do 8K. So there are some things that I think Oppo still is going to focus. So if you want that 4K 120, if you want to get 8K recording, I think OnePlus is still going to be the company that you're going to go with, and it's not really going to be a big change between the two. So something to keep in mind. I still feel like the brands are still holding to their own experiences with somewhat of a unified experience. But it is that initial shock. If you're not running a custom launcher, you're going to see the new icons, you're going to see the new gestures, and it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. But I feel like it's going to be something we can move forward with. Let me see here. Oh my God. Okay. World first when it comes to the updates. Always have to see how it goes there. Okay. Yeah. So Finn Jacobs, thank you. Hey man. So one of the other things that I did kind of chance to mention to earlier, yeah, the One UI update for Fold 3 did get pulled back. They are having problems with it. It obviously they're trying to. And I don't know if it's a rush. I don't know why companies are trying to hit that. We released it in 2021 type of a thing before making sure it's fully baked. But just look at it from that sense. If you do end up having a Fold 3, which I do, which is one of those things that I have to kind of, the reason why I'm kind of concerned about this right now is Juan Carlos, myself, and I, okay, I just made 3 people there. Juan and I are going to be doing a swap or an experience, basically doing a phone swap like we did last year. And my hope was to actually get him some time with the Fold 3. And the Fold 3 right now has some issues. So I'm not sure if it's something that he's going to want to play with. And if he does, I'll make sure obviously to reset it. And hopefully that fixes most of the concerns. But we'll have to see how that kind of goes with his experience and how that works there. And again, they pulled that update as well. So both OnePlus and Samsung are pulling. They didn't pull the update for the S21 Ultra, although I'm hoping it's getting better as they get updates. They did push an update to that one as well. So we'll have to see how that goes, of course. Aditya, the man. Donald Lozino is in there. Hey man, hope you're doing well. My LG V60 says Android 12 update. I clicked on it and then it went away. Nothing happened after. Any idea? The only thing I can probably say is if they were pushing out the update, you probably got it. Maybe clicked on the server and it shows it in there. There's a couple things you could do. You could probably try to restart the device or clear cache for the update app, not the whole system, and then see if that fixes the problem for you. More than likely, they may have pulled back on it because I haven't been hearing a lot of news on it. So they may be preemptively try to push it and then they pulled it back before it was pushed out. But that's actually exciting to be able to see. The best thing, at least on your phone, if it is available for your device, I would say is that restart the device, and if that doesn't work, clear the cache for the update app. If that doesn't go through, you can try to play the VPN game. I've done that in the past, and then some areas that works where you're able to jump into a market where it does actually have this update available, and it'll push the update for your phone. But it's a hit and miss, and it's hard to tell which market will get the V60 update first. Specifically, if you're running a branded version of it, I'm not sure if yours is a unlocked or is, like, say, a T-Mobile or a version of it that was based on a carrier, because that adds another layer of delays that could potentially go in there. So I knew Greg was going to bring this up. So the Nexus 6 is the that one lost device that I haven't been able to find in the studio, which is the weirdest thing ever. But believe it, there are sometimes a hard time for me to find a device. It's a device that I used to have, and I gave it to my mom. She used it for a while, and I got it back but I put it somewhere and I just don't remember where. And I always wanted to update that one because it's one of the larger, one of the first stereo speakers devices that Google put out with the Nexus, and it actually is pretty decent as far as the experience. It was, following the experience of larger devices like the Pixel, not the Pixel, like the Nexus. I think was it the Nexus 5 also? That was also a larger one from Huawei. But yeah, still. I haven't had a chance to spend like a lot of dedicated time looking for it, but as I'm going through every once in a while, I do typically kind of find, and I am going to start doing a little bit more. I'm going to say not cleanup, but necessarily just focusing more on trying to find things and getting rid of things that are a little bit older that probably just should not be here anymore. Let me see here real quick. Dominic is in there. I'm currently being attacked by children. Okay, gang, we need to send help to Purposely Gaming. Send as much help as possible. Attacked by children. Hopefully he's not. Hopefully he's not down and out, and we'll be able to kind of hang out with him again. Okay, Finn's coming back with, it's not bad to move away from stock. I like oxygenos 11 better than oxygenos 10, and I also like coloros, but I don't like oxygenos being a coloros skin. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. I think it's when you hear the words being put in that, which is true, by the way. I'm not trying to say that it's just a formatting of things. It is a little bit hard because I think the way we are looking at it now is oxygenos is based on coloros, which is based on Android 12 or whatever the next version of Android. And it's because of that, I feel like some people are a little bit anxious. I think at some point, I'm hoping it doesn't become a big, it doesn't linger with us for too long, but it is a transition point. It's a transition point that I think we need to trust OnePlus that they're able to continue providing us the experiences that we've loved. Finn obviously has gone through the experience there from 10 to 11. That was a change. It wasn't a dramatic change as we see now, or what we've seen now, but it was a change nonetheless. It was a big thing for us to kind of adjust to. And this one is actually even bigger. Obviously, there shouldn't be any more big changes as far as dramatic changes till we see obviously how things go on further. But we're going to have to, I think at the end of the day, we have to trust that, OnePlus is not trying to tank their market. They're trying to improve it and build upon it. And that their collaboration with Oppo on the software for ColorOS 12 was done intentionally to simplify and make things better for everybody. ColorOS is ColorOS and OnePlus is OnePlus. They're not merging the brands. They're basically trying to synergize their development. And essentially, in many, many ways, it's from a business standpoint. They looked at it and said, look, if we're going to work more together, does it make sense for us to have two separate development teams running and updating devices on their own, as opposed to merging them and having them work together with a better workforce to be able to actually support more devices and get the updates running better for more devices? And I think that's what we want to see. But that first update hiccup is making that experience not as smooth as it should have been, which I think that's what I think. I wanted it to be more of a smoothless experience, smooth experience, not smoothless. I don't know why I said that. Joe, hey man, hope you're doing well. Joe Hickey's in the channel. So Joe is purely Pixel and Matt is purely gaming. So you get that kind of experience going on from both sides, and we have representation from everybody. But hope you're doing well, Joe. I hope you're having a great Saturday. I'm just working from home. I'm just walking home from work. Well, I hope you had a good day, man. Long day. Oh man, I'll see how everybody else is doing here. Okay, so I think TK, the new flagship killer is the Pixel 6 for now. So Dominic, actually, I don't disagree with you. I think there's a few brands that could potentially kind of go for that title. Poco is definitely one of my favorites. I'd love to say that Poco is definitely still working on their bang for buck experience. I still think Realme does a decent job, at least with their latest releases. I mean, the Realme Neo GT2 running the 870 is seriously some of the best experiences that you can talk about, because they're using the right processor and they're giving you a great flagship experience because they're using now what the 870 is considered not the flagship of 2021. It's considered to be a rebrand of the 865 that we saw last year. You're getting a lot of the benefit of the 865, slightly overclocked, but you're still getting flagship experience on a device, here running Realme. And the conversation of obviously Realme OS at this point, another derivative of ColorOS, you can definitely see the benefit of how Realme's been doing it. Realme's been thriving using that ecosystem. It's their pricing that basically has been differentiating them from other devices. And I'm actually really happy that they sent me an additional one that I'm able to actually give out, because it is a free. So actually, let's do this. It's about 48 minutes into the show, so let's go ahead and talk about this, and I'll talk about that. And I'm with you, Dominic. Absolutely. So the giveaway is essentially is again part of the celebration and also part of the transition, the new channel, the new episode 100 here on the channel, and it is an international giveaway for everybody that's watching the show. I am not going to do a Gleam.io subscribe to everything. If you'd like to, please do so. It is up to you. There's no pressure. All I ask from you, if you don't mind, is to make sure that you leave a comment on this. If you would like to subscribe to the channel and like the channel to help out with the metrics, absolutely. There's no pressure. Please do it at your own if you feel like this is a good benefit. But the show is going to have, well, actually, the giveaway is going to be running for 2 weeks. So there's going to be this podcast, the next week's podcast, and the one coming in on Christmas. So I was looking at the calendar. In 2 weeks, my podcast would be on Christmas Day, and I'm not going to be doing a Christmas Day podcast. I'll be very frank with you guys. That show is going to be done on Friday morning on the Christmas Eve podcast, so that I can actually make sure that whoever won it gets the good news, and then we can go from there. You can comment on this video. You can comment on the next video, which is going to be next week's podcast, and any person that comments gets an entry. At the end of the day, I'm going to tally up the entries and I'm going to leave the number of comments. So if you left 3 comments in there, if you want to engage with the channel, you want to do more, obviously do your thing. But for every comment that you put in there on the video, that gets you the entry, and that kind of gives it the conversation we can kind of go through. Please do not spam the channel. If you start spamming this channel with a lot of blank comments or something to that effect, obviously they need to be engaging comments. That's the whole point. We're trying to have a conversation. It gives you an entry, and then during that live stream on the 24th of December, we'll basically be picking up a viewer, and we'll obviously, whomever it is, we'll end up basically connecting with them. Hopefully they can connect with me back, and then we can I can ship out the phone. The phone that I showed you guys in the thumbnail, which I'm sure you guys already, some of you picked it up. Actually, it was pretty easy. The color was the biggest thing that I feel like. Well, let's see here. So the color on it was the biggest thing that kind of gave it away. It's that neon green kind of look with realme with the stripe. It's not the leather one, and this is the one I'm using myself. So this is my device. This is the reason why I wanted to actually show you guys. But the one that they actually gave me, the additional one that we're going to be giving out, exact same specifications, same hardware, same everything. Let's go ahead and open it up. Okay, unboxing is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So here, we'll bring up the phone. Of course, comes with its own charger, everything. And so here. So it's more of a graphite look. Same hardware, same everything. I wish I could, let me just put it back here. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it is brand spanking new. Hasn't been used, obviously I'll turn it on and make sure it boots up correctly, but you get a brand new in the box. It'll be obviously packaged better, and it will be shipped to you regardless. International giveaway. Again, just a couple of rules. Make sure that you make sure you're you'd be able to comment on the channel. If you'd like to subscribe, absolutely would be definitely very nice. And a couple of weeks from now we'll pick a winner. And like I said, I may advertise it on Twitter and so on, but I'm not going to be doing a Gleam, so it's a very simple giveaway dedicated for you guys, the fans. It's the people that follow and are on the show that are going to be able to win this. And you have actually a much better chance than some of the other ones, since we're not really as very big yet on this channel. So we'll see how it goes. Sorry. I won. That was like kids beat me up. Yeah. Matt Tyler may win over on Call of Duty, but when it comes to kids, yeah, we still need some help there. Finn Jacobs, CarPlay and other people leaving OnePlus last year marked the end of OnePlus as we know it. And I think that was the biggest thing. You could see the difference, the change in direction from last year. So I feel like this is something that we've seen coming. We should have we just need to basically figure out with them and see what they're going to be doing as we go forward. As soon as they fix the update for the OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro, we should be able to start seeing that update again. It didn't break the phones, but there were some UI things. And like I said, in my experience, having a device that runs the 888, say that it runs the 855, may bother a lot of people. For me, I know it's just the processor still runs the way it's supposed to. My Geekbench scores are still running the same way they're supposed to when in performance, and when not in performance is a little bit under. But it is something that we have to keep in mind. Wow, I'm really way behind. Okay. Evening TK. Hey, Dan. Grounded Tech is with us here in the chat. Hope you're doing well. Even fellow bloggers and the Android Bay. Yeah, it's been something that actually, it's like, this is TK. This is the Android Bay. Because it felt weird. Like I said, this is TK Bay on TK Android Bay. You know what I mean? Like it felt like redundant a little bit, but I feel like you guys did a really decent job there. The Android Bay, I think, is a very good name, which I think will stick with us for quite some time. I thought by hitting 100 followers on on the YouTube site, automatically gave me the feature to get that custom name. I think maybe it's a thing that takes a couple of days or so. So we'll have to see. We are over 100, but I still don't have a way of getting the custom URL. So hopefully very soon it'll end up becoming youtube.com/ the Android Bay, since I have everything else kind of running in there. I'm watching this on my OnePlus phone. Finn's watching it on a OnePlus, and with the power of root, in root we trust always. It's the most perfect phone experience I've ever had. And if you don't like software, you can always change it on a OnePlus. Keep in mind that that's still something that we can do. It's not a situation where you have to stay with this version of Android. If you're comfortable with, if you understand and you're comfortable rooting and changing the recovery on your device, you could technically run actually from a plethora of custom ROMs available over on XDA. And that's something that you can do. Very few devices on the market can and say they can do without breaking your warranty on a OnePlus device. So keep in mind, there is still that part of it that needs to we need to continue with this. We'll have to see how with the OnePlus 10 and 10 Pro kind of that experience goes through. I'm hoping that Oppo and OnePlus don't change that approach, allowing us to unlock our bootloaders just as if we want to be able to unlock them on, let's say, Pixel devices. It's great for development. It's great for people to be able to kind of get a device that has a great hardware set to start with, and you can, flavor the experience the way you want to make it. And I think this is something I haven't mentioned it earlier because we're still talking about general consumer purchase, not people that are comfortable, that are, I would say, more adventurous in their experience on a OnePlus, since you technically have to unlock the bootloader anyways as soon as you get the phone, so that you're able to kind of, without having to lose your data down the road, if you want to kind of mod it first before you kind of get it running. But I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. Good build of Lineage OS on OnePlus. It can definitely give you a much, much different experience than what we have right now with Android 12. I think Realme are very, very, so Purposely Gaming is saying Realme are very good. The price for performance is absolutely unbeaten, closest probably to Xiaomi. And yeah, very much a very bang for the buck experience, I think, where Realme's been working. They're stuck to that experience, and they've been building on it. So the GT line has received quite a bit. The Explorer Master Edition, the GT Neo, and then we also had the standard GT that came out, and they were all kind of like in the second half of 2021. So you could definitely see where their benefits and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to give us overall. Okay. So just to kind of, I know I said I was going to be more organized, and I kind of just shot through everything. So we covered the tech news. We talked about obviously the video, the couple of videos that I pushed out this week, which actually I forgot to mention. So there was that one video that I pushed out yesterday. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, love to if you guys can check that out. It's on the TK Bay channel. I actually need to be a little bit more diligent now to post this over on there. And speaking of which, hold on, let me just do this real quick here. Um, uh, and we're okay. Ooh, are we? Yes, we're back. Always love it. Technical problems. Let's not. Well, so I was having different problems at the beginning of the day, but essentially internet connection was not one of them. So I'm hoping this doesn't actually change much. Let's go here and here. Okay, and I think that's what I was trying to do. Okay, so either way, I'll have to post this one a little bit later on. I forgot to post it on the community channel for TK Bay that the podcast is on here. But yes, a little bit of technical problems, and you could see it right there that affected the little display that I have back there. Oppo foldables are arriving soon. Any thoughts on that one? So Sarvan, actually, that's a very good question. So Inno Day, or their Innovation Day, is happening on the 15th. That's in a couple of days. Oppo announced, or at least showed us a teaser of a foldable device. So something that looks like the Fold, a little bit more like this. But if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, the aesthetics of it looked like it was a little bit wider and a little bit shorter than what we have on the Fold 3. And I feel like that's closer to what we have with the with the Duo 2 as far as a form factor, a slightly wider, more of a tablet style experience that is actually the right format. Because when you really look at a tablet sideways, when you're holding it in basically in landscape mode, you notice that basically you're looking at it actually in the right format. And if you turn it over to portrait, you have that same experience. The Galaxy Fold doesn't do that. The Galaxy Fold has its own format. The Duo did stick to more of that experience, but it's not intended to be more of a general consumer. Well, I would still say I think foldables in general are not considered general consumer use yet. From what we've seen, I'm very excited about it. I'm hoping that it's not another concept, and I say this because the OnePlus X, the Oppo X 2021 was a device that was considered to be a concept device. It was marketed, and there was some units that were going around from different PR agencies and different shows, but for the most part, it was not a device that was intended to be sold. Hence, why we don't have it. LG did the same thing. They showed us a device that looked very similar to that. TCL teased us about something like that in early 2021 as a device that they could be putting out as a rollable as opposed to foldable experience. And from what I've seen with videos, I mean, they looked decent. I don't know about durability, but maybe that was the concern. And it looks like now they're shifting approach. They're going into a foldable that has a hinge that basically bends the display, and it gives us something similar to the Galaxy Fold, or basically what we saw with the Mate on the Huawei devices. And of course, even with Xiaomi, they all, I think, are focused on that experience because they feel like that's the right medium. I'm hoping it does come out. I'm hoping that it's not just a concept, but it looks absolutely really promising. I'm really excited to see Oppo push the limit and try to move over. Now, it's not going to be a Find. It's going to be an N series. I think it's going to be the Oppo N, and I'm not sure if it's going to be N 2022. We'll have to see how that kind of goes. But I'm very excited. And Eno Day is a few days from now. If you guys are not registered or you don't follow Oppo on socials, you probably haven't heard about that, but it's definitely something very nice. And I did tweet about that one as well. Let me double check here. We need to collectively, as a community, buy and send TK refurb next to 6. Since I can't find it, we're gonna have to kind of just make it happen because if TK can't find it, we're gonna make it happen. Greg, as you can see here, yeah, Greg is rolling on the floor with that one. Absolutely. Oh my God. Oppo, everybody kicking it. Yeah. For Christmas, I'm down for that, Aditya. Absolutely. I think it's a lot of fun. Aditi actually had a good question here. TK, oh, sorry here. I'm curious to see how Oppo and OnePlus will now function as separate OEMs. The Hasselblad collaboration seems to be only with OnePlus, and that's the true thing. That's why we still have the moniker of the Hasselblad, the X-band modes that are only present in there. I think to a certain point, with the exception of that little transition that we're going with, they're still going to operate independently. I don't think they benefit from merging the brand together. OnePlus doesn't sell the same type of devices as Oppo does. And I say that specifically, although they share hardware, their message, their experience is a little bit different. They're still trying to be the OnePlus devices or the OnePlus or the company that we've focused on and we've loved over the years with, I guess, a 2022 flavor kind of going on. I'm still worried, not necessarily worried, I'll take that back. I'm still interested to see how these updates will push on older hardwares for OnePlus. Remember, Oppo's they've been using coloros for quite some time, so updating older devices may not be as much of a concern. But updating devices that have run generationally over on oxygenos that typically do have some problems when OnePlus updates them to the next version of Android. How is that going to be handled with ColorOS? Those are the things I'm concerned, and I want to see how they work. The minor glitches that I see with OnePlus 9 or the 9 Pro with the whole glitch of the 855 to 888, that's a minor thing. It doesn't change the performance on the phone. It's really just in case if you go into the settings, you get to see that. But otherwise, how many of us live in the settings section under About, always linking, oh, it says 855. No, I mean, obviously, when you're checking for updates, it does. That was also another thing they changed, the update screen, where the placement of the update screen is actually moved from the system to the About, where that was also another Oppo update or optimization that was done in there. But if you have a OnePlus 9 and you receive the update, try that 3-finger screen capture. That's actually a new feature into OnePlus devices that we didn't have before. Let me see here. Mohammed. Mohammed is jumping in. Motorola is pricing its phone very affordably in India. Would it take on OnePlus's market? So here's the big difference here between OnePlus and Motorola. Motorola's approach to smartphones lately, at least the way it's been going, has definitely been more, again, trying to keep it stock, trying to keep it light with minor modifications and giving you their collaboration with Android One and of course with other devices on the market. Can they overtake OnePlus? I really don't see how. They're not really in the same flavor. If somebody's approach to smartphones is to get those nice little customizations, those nice features that you get, the little things that OnePlus does on their smartphones, I don't think you're going to be able to find something to be more of a one-to-one relationship. Now, if you're looking for more of a budget, basically price point, you have the Nord 2, and then you have the Nord 10, the Nord 20, and the Nord 200 and 200, and those are a little bit more on the competition side. At the end of the day, I think Motorola's market is still unfortunately there's a lot of competition in the Indian market, which I think where Motorola has something to keep in mind. Even if they make progress against OnePlus's market, there's still a whole bunch of the Realmes, the Xiaomi's, the Redmi's, all of the other all the other devices on the market that will probably be even cheaper than Motorola. So we'll have to see how that goes. At least in the US, they're making progress. They just released a device that, again, more of a mid-range. Again, I think they're still trying to figure out their experiences being managed under Lenovo right now. So their approach is different, but I'm hoping it does get better. Hey, Dragon Ball's back. The internet does work. My comments tend to draw blanks from people, sort of similar. Maybe maybe I'll get banned. Nah, man. That green is very nice. I'm with you, Dan. I'm definitely very much with you. So 10:37. What time is it? Oh wow, I'm very very late. Okay, let's see how we. Gotta shoot. Okay, so I gotta shoot and help out with with Bubba's bedtime. Great to see you. Thank you very much, man. I hope you're doing well. Everybody say good night to Joe. Hope he's doing great. Yeah, man, it's definitely one of those experiences we kind of have to go through. I'm still waiting. I'm still on my Samsung Note 9 simply because I don't make I don't make phones with my bare minimum requirement. I don't need phones with bare minimum requirements, which have at least 512 gigs of internal storage, external SD card, headphone jack, as well as 5G. I'm going to upgrade to the Sony Pro I. I think the Sony Pro I is a very specific phone. Okay. I say this, and I think Michael Fisher, Mr. Mobile, asked me this question. He's like, who do you think this is going for? The Sony Pro I and Sony devices lately have been more of a specific targeted market. You need to, as long as you love their color science when it comes to camera, their new development that they're going with hardware, and more beeps in the office. It's going to be something that you need to be able to kind of jump into. It's not cheap, but it definitely feeds into a specific market, and it really lives up to that alpha experience. It is an alpha it's an alpha camera experience in a smartphone, and I think we always need to appreciate that with Sony devices. Man, don't make me. You guys are just jumping. Everybody kicking it in there. Russ is in there. Hey, man, hope you're doing well. Richard Klein, hope you're doing well as well. I see. Oh, man. Vinay is in there also. Wow. Okay. A lot of our new friends here. So we have some new people that haven't been here before. Dominic in there, of course. Everybody kicking it with us. Okay, great. And I think I kind of hit the end of part of it there. So I think we're starting to hit somewhat of the end of the show. If you guys are not familiar with this is something that we like to do every week. It's called the TK-ception. It's part of the show where we actually have a way of showing some love for the channel, but also showcasing some of the contributors, some of our members that hang out with us every week, day in and day out on Saturdays and kicking it with us. I am contemplating. I'll say this. So actually, sorry. Let me finish the comment there. The biggest thing, sorry, I'm jumping in here. Dan is here. I'm going to grab the Xperia 5 Mark III, and I think for now I would get the One Mark IV next year as well. There are going to be some big upgrades on the way. Absolutely. I think if the Pro I is any indication, Sony is doing a big shift, and I'm hoping. Actually, I'm very excited to see what it is. The One Mark IV is definitely going to be great. I'm glad that you guys have access to the Xperia 5 Mark III, and I think in the Asian market they have it as well. US, I don't know. Sony has not put out anything, and I haven't been able to get a straight answer as far as that. But with that being said, if you mind, start dropping in those hashtags in there. You'll start seeing some people putting it in there. It's a very early TK-ception, so I'll be very frank. Today is we're celebrating my son's birthday. So I know where Matt's celebrating his daughter's birthday. We're celebrating my son's birthday, and we're trying to have it finished a little bit before lunchtime here in the US, for me at least. But I'm also, one of the things I was actually shooting for is I'm trying to bring the podcast to be a little bit earlier, still on Saturday mornings, but maybe at 9 o'clock or 9:30 early, as opposed to the 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So for most everybody that's on the show, it'll be roughly about the same time, just an hour earlier, and it carries over for about the hour and a half or so. And that's typically what I want to keep the show at. We are at about an hour and 10 minutes, and that was where I was trying to gauge for the TKception. But I'm with you, Finn. I get it. It is a little, it seems like it's a little bit early for sure. So with that being said, I'm going to share screen, and if you haven't seen this before, this is how it looks. It's definitely a visual effect. So right there, right on cue. So I will say this: thank you very much for everybody for hanging out with us, kicking it with us on your Saturday morning. The show, obviously, the Android Bay is the new moniker, but it is the same show moving forward with hopefully a little bit better organization and a dedicated channel. With that being said, thank you very much to Chemi Torres, TK Amigo, gracias carnal, TKception, TKR Bay, always appreciated there. A little bit early, but hashtag TKception for sure. Chemi Torres, TK Amigo, everybody in there again. Greg, of course, Android Bayception. We'll have to figure out the name. I'm having internet problems, and I'm honestly, like I said, technical problems were a little thing earlier, but I'm hoping that this is not going to come back to the show. Greg, always hanging out with us. Thank you very much for the support. Aditya, the man, the myth himself, the Mr. Cumberbatch of our channel, is with us. TKception, TKR Bay, TK Android Bay, and TK, congratulations on the new channel. And again, keep in mind again with the giveaway going on. Chemi coming back as well. Dan, Grounded Tech, as always, love it. TKception, Android Bayception, and TK the Best Bay. Absolutely, man. Aditya, happy birthday, Omar. Thank you. Yeah. TK Saturday Guru, thank you very much. It's one of those things, like I said, I'm not gonna lie that it's obviously a scary thing to move a big part of the show on its own, but I really think that the podcast will grow and it will thrive on its own in this own ecosystem. And because of the metric and because of the algorithm going on where this is only long form video, it's not going to have as much of an impact, and it will thrive on its own in that manner. So I'm hoping that actually becomes a thing for us. Richard Klein as well, thank you very much. Hope you guys are doing great. Russ, TKception, TK Android Bay, TK happy birthday, Omar. The OnePlus now colorized, absolutely colorized, and all of the different things. Jimmy Fire Dragon, thank you very much. TKR Bay, TK New Channel Bay, absolutely. Dominic Wong, absolutely happy to see you again, man. Hope you're doing really good. TKception, TK Realme Bay. You know what? I don't mind taking that name. That can be nice. But this is actually, seriously, it's a great phone. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of video, a lot of content, at least in Europe right now. It definitely has a lot of buzz going on with it. So I'm very happy and would love to be able to share that with you guys as well. And of course, Richard Klein, is it still TK? It is TK. It is always going to be TK, but it is the Android Bay podcast. I don't know the future, how the branding of the channel is going to end up maybe taking over and becoming maybe TK Bay as a part of the Android Bay. I have the TK Tech Bay website, which I feel like kind of fits. And yeah, the internet on that thing is just not going to happen today. But I think the Android Bay may be a better moniker to go in as opposed to TK Tech Bay. So we'll have to see. But yes, it still is TK, and we're going to keep doing it. We're doing it live. TKception, hashtag TK. Oh, and Extreme Skins, of course, sorry. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Thank you to Extreme Skins for sending out the skins, of course, for the Pixel 6 Pro as well as the Xperia 1 Mark III. And of course, if you'd like to save 10%, there'll be a link in the description below. I'm very happy to work with them as well, which is very nice. And thanks to Matt for facilitating that, actually. If you didn't figure out that it was a Matt connection, it was easy to figure out. But I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and then be safe as always and stay safe. The show ran a little bit longer. Let's do it this way. And I don't know why it's now doing weird formatting. Okay, Windows, just not my friend. Thank you very much, Aditya, for hanging out with us and, of course, kicking it with us. The format of the show is, again, moving forward, we'll be here. We'll be posting, I may be actually posting small snippets of the show over on the main channel for like little quick recaps for the weekend. But if you haven't had a chance to check it out, check out the videos on the TK Bay channel, Tariq Bay as well for Arabic followers if you'd like to follow it there. The new podcast audio format of this video will be available shortly after this. And of course, thank you very much to everybody hanging out with us. Matt, Aditya, Greg, Russ, everybody, Muhammad in there, Dan, everybody that I forgot to mention. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. I'll see you next week for another episode of the Android Bay. And hopefully the internet will be a little bit better for us at that point. Take care, everybody, and be safe. Bye-bye for now. Oh, Don't forget to comment on the video, this one and next week, so you get your chances to enter for the giveaway. Again, the Realme Neo 2, the Realme GT Neo 2 is up for grabs, international giveaway. This video, as well as next Saturday's video, for you to be able to get your entries in. I'll see you guys in the next time.